February 5th, 1988. I joined up to 33 million people in the United States and was tuned into NBC on a Friday night to watch the main event. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, you at home are going to listen to me, Tim Jousma, and the greatest legal mind in the Pacific Northwest, Professor Aubrey.
Woot woot.
Give you our thoughts on this particular historic show. Do you know why this is historic?
It's because your friend got beat up by somebody who was bigger and stronger.
No, he got robbed. He got robbed. This is a crime on national... No, anyway, this is the rematch for Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. This was the first big, huge wrestling event I ever got a chance to see, because up to that point, the regular TV shows were more just basically infomercials to either get you to buy a pay-per-view or to come see their house shows.
I see. So it was all advertising, so you didn't get to see... They didn't show you the money shots.
Essentially, yeah. Like, Hulk Hogan rarely wrestled on television. You would see him a lot. You would hear him a lot. But in terms of actually wrestling a match, he wasn't going to wrestle any sort of match that was of any significance. You barely saw him wrestle. So to be able to see a championship match on national television on a Friday, that was the first time in over 30 years as well that professional wrestling was on broadcast television. Because in the 50s, when television first started, there was a fourth network out there called the DuPont Network, and one of their big shows was professional wrestling.
Really?
Indeed, because if you think about it, professional wrestling, especially in the 50s, because a lot of times, like the big show on the DuPont Network, for instance, was called Wrestling at the Chase, which was filmed in St. Louis, and it was filmed in one location. So you got to think in terms of cost. It doesn't really cost that much to produce a wrestling TV show, and it's made for TV, really. It's the best way to kind of showcase the storytelling aspects they're playing in the ring. You're like, yeah, totally. We'll see if you fall asleep halfway through this, like you did Black Widow or Loki. What was
we should rename these the Bad Date Doubles.
Or something like that. But what we're going to do now is do a watch along. So if you got the Peacock Network, go to Saturday night's main event and look for February 5th, 1988. It'll be listed as the main event. And from there, we are at the 1 second mark and ready to hit play in 3, 2, 1. All right, the Macho Man Randy Savage opening the show with Miss Elizabeth. Yeah.
Wow, Miss Elizabeth has got a very fancy sparkly dress on. And look, this guy is Elvis and his little friend.
That's the Colonel, Jimmy Hart.
I don't know who that is.
He was a famous, he was Andy Kaufman's manager in Memphis when Andy Kaufman wrestled against Jerry the King Lawler.
Really?
Yeah, and there we go.
Andre's getting ready. He's looking scary. He's got big old hands.
And with him is the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. When he first debuted in the WWF, he offered Hulk Hogan money to buy the championship, and Hulk Hogan refused. So this is DiBiase's revenge.
Well, but that's all made up, right?
It was for real, man.
Hulkamania.
Get your filthy hands around my neck, brother. Thousands of miles away, dude. I mean, this is cool when you're a kid, but just it's
Is it cool when you're a kid? Is it?
It was, for me at least. I didn't care because, you didn't see him that much. Once they switched over to, the television, essentially the focus being the television show, that got old quick.
Yeah. Any one of the characters would have gotten old quick. Like, they're very broadly played parts.
Yes, it's very rare that you get like John Cena, for instance, who actually made a comeback tonight at Money in the Bank. Because the ratings are low. Vince McMahon needs a boost, so they grab John Cena because he has a couple months free. But you're not going to get one person that's going to be the same character for many years. You have to change it up over time. I mean, people change. People have positives and negatives in their lives and all that, but just. Yeah. Anyway, this was the first time they had live television on broadcast television. So they had a lot of mistakes happening in this show, and this was in Indiana. So this is like one state over from me when it happened. In what, 2 states from you, like Kentucky and then Indiana.
Is Indiana on top of Kentucky?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then yeah.
Okay. But yeah, that's where the Indianapolis Hoosiers play. And of course, Jesse the Body Ventura. Remember him?
I remember Jesse Ventura, yes. And look at Vince McMahon, looking all young with his cleft chin and his really terrible hairdo.
It's real, pal. But this at the time, oh my God, like my mother let me watch it. It was the rare time that I got to watch wrestling when she was home, but I had to watch it on the TV in her bedroom.
Oh, so you got sent into Mama's bedroom by yourself to watch the wrestling while the girls watched whatever they were watching.
It was Friday night. I mean, the Golden Girls was on Saturday, so it wasn't that. I forgot what was on Friday nights. Probably some silly ABC comedy or something. I could easily look it up. But
what about Cagney and Lacey?
That was CBS. I believe that was a Monday.
Oh, wow. Yeah. You're like a Rain Man with this stuff.
Yeah, look where it's gotten me. But the first match coming up in the night was the Macho Man Randy Savage facing off against the Intercontinental Champion, the Honky Tonk Man.
Why is the Honky Tonk Man dressed like Elvis? It seems to me that honky tonkin is not the same as rockabilly. So he's got a rockabilly costume on, but he claims to be a honky tonker. It's just not right to me. It's just not right.
Well, Vince McMahon, he was actually born in North Carolina, but at the age of 12 ended up moving with his father in New York, and I think has a lot of Southern biases because you got to remember, like, one of the big characters that had probably just left the WWF about this time was Hillbilly Jim. Then you had Uncle Elmer, and he's just never really portrayed Southern characters in any sort of real positive light, even though he is
a Southern character. He's almost even a caricature of the overseer.
I mean, I think of the Beyond the Map movie where he, there was a wrestler that they hired at the WWF. This is a documentary that was produced by Ron Howard.
Can I just interrupt you to say this is so homoerotic right now?
Yeah,
like they're doing nothing. Okay, it's Hulk Hogan completely oiled up. I mean, oiled to high heaven with a ripped up tank top on, muscle shirt, and just lifting weights. And it's him over and over again, lifting the same weights and making these faces to turn red in the face because they're really, really heavy.
Steroids, dude.
And it's been going on now for at least 3 minutes, like 3 solid minutes, which on TV is a long time. Well, you're telling me that you, as a 11-year-old boy, that didn't turn you on in some way?
No.
It had to have.
I don't think it did. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, guys that are love James Bond just a little too much, you got to think there's probably a little bit of attraction there, and it's attraction, it's innocent attraction, but it's attraction nonetheless. So in that sense, maybe, I guess, sure, but it wasn't like, I was sitting there, jacking it off or anything.
Right. Okay. There was no trip to San Diego involved.
Jacking it. Honky Tonk Man was one of the wrestlers I saw at my first live show, September 18th, 1989, at the old Stadium Arena in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Which was your birthday.
My birthday, yes.
Yes.
My 13th birthday, to be exact. And the main event, which was actually the third match on the show at that time, they did things a little differently there, but it was the Ultimate Warrior versus Andre the Giant, as I've said many times. But I didn't tell the end of that story because in intermission, where they encourage people to go buy all the merchandise that they can, I bought these Ultimate Warrior wristbands. And I wore them to school and got mocked during gym class.
Nice. So what'd you do with them after that?
Oh, they stayed in my backpack for the rest of the day, and they never made an appearance again.
Oh, wow. And going into it, did you think, like, oh, these are going to be cool, these are going to go over well?
No, I put them on because I liked them.
Okay.
And I let peer pressure determine, me not wearing them at that point.
Got you.
Yeah, I mean, I was a big fan of the Ultimate Warrior at that time, and yeah, it was just like now Batman shirt on,
Right.
So, and Peggy Sue, she's played by she's usually known as Sensational Sherry, one of my favorite female managers and wrestlers. Just like anything she ever did, she put her absolute best effort into it. She's always great. Thank you very much. And Jimmy Hart was, I think I told you, actually lived in Tennessee and was in a member of a group called the Gentrys, which had a one-hit wonder, and I think in either the 50s or the early 60s.
Nice.
Yeah, so he actually has some musical roots in Tennessee.
Most people do. That's why Tennessee should have won the Ultimate Challenge.
Yeah. That wonderful battle for state supremacy there. Oh, yeah.
It's the Macho Man Randy Savage and Lady Elizabeth.
It's like, on the one hand, how they utilized her was brilliant, because when he was a bad guy and kept her as his manager, he would do things like if a wrestler was coming at her, he would hide behind her and then also yell at her during a match, but she would always be kind and nice to him. And essentially it's just kind of like when he turns good, we're supposed to essentially celebrate an abuser.
Yeah, that's really bizarre.
The bizarre, I mean, you remember, they were actually the subject of one of the Dark Side of the Rings.
That's all I know about them, was that Dark Side of the Ring.
Yeah, and this is kind of, you kind of see in action what it was like. And just imagine, look how intense he is on the camera right there. And I'm sure there may have been some sort of stimulant backstage that they used, a powdered variety. But just imagine living with that all day, just like the snap into a Slim Jim.
Right.
That's fucking intense. I don't need that, for give me the milk, yeah. But this match here actually kind of, people didn't realize it at the time, but it kind of changed the course of history, because initially, word is, we're going to give a spoiler here, the Honky Tonk Man ends up winning the match, I believe, by disqualification. He was initially supposed to lose, and he fought his way, and, Vince McMahon ultimately says, okay, you can keep the title. And because of that, a couple months after this, in WrestleMania 4, when the World Championship belt is vacated because of what happens in this episode, the Macho Man ends up winning the championship.
Oh, so he loses here, but it ends up being reversed.
Not reversed, but essentially it's like Macho Man, did business. He was told to take a loss, and he said, I will gladly do it, and went out there. And, at this time, he was already considered one of the best wrestlers in the world. The previous year, he had what is considered to be one of the greatest wrestling matches ever at WrestleMania 3 against Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. So he could go and entertain in the ring. But it's just, if the Honky Tonk Man had not fought, the Macho Man could have ended up winning the Intercontinental Championship and would not have become the world champion.
I see.
Yeah, so Yeah, because basically what happened, the reason Hulk Hogan ended up losing the championship was that after this, like a day or two after this, he ended up going to Atlanta to film his first movie, No Holds Barred. Do you remember that cinema classic?
No.
Yes, yes. It was a big deal in WWF land at that time. Produced by Vince McMahon, a Shane production company, and Shane is Vince's son's name, so they used it for that. And apparently the script was so bad that Hulk and Vince had to rewrite the script. Two people have never been in the film business, had to rewrite a script in a 24-hour period.
I'm sure it was a really good film.
Oh, a cinema classic. No, God, no. I mean, there was, oh God, I forgot his name. But there was a character actor that played the bad guy in the movie Brel. Again, I don't know his name, but he's been a character actor in enough stuff that I think if you saw him, you would know what I mean, and you would know he is a good actor. It's just that he never got a big break, you know. But the other person that was big in No Holds Barred was Zeus. Tiny Lister, the actor. Do you remember the actor, the tall African-American actor in the movie The Fifth Element who played the President of the United States? I believe his character in the movie Friday, he was in the movie Friday, I believe his character name was Debo.
I do not remember him, I'm not aware of him.
Yeah, big tall guy. He had like an eye issue and all that, but is what it is. But, oh, look at this, Macho Man is winning. It's winning. There's the Elvis wannabe representing Memphis, Tennessee on his tights. Because, of course, you know, when you think of superior athletes, when you think of the best quality athletes, where else are you going to look?
But Memphis, Tennessee.
But for Elvis impersonators, you know, when you think of superior athletic ability, you just think Elvis.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
But that's the beauty of the Honky Tonk Man. The Honky Tonk Man, as far as an in-ring wrestler, wasn't very good. But the thing he was very good at was getting you to hate him.
I hate him already. I saw him once and I hated him.
Yeah, because he, like right now, is cheating, trying to cheat. Oh, he did cheat, he did hit him. But he always just, you know, weasels his way into another victory.
I see.
But yeah, it was so...
He's a real bad guy.
Oh, yes. Like, at the time, I didn't appreciate the work he put into getting people to dislike him like that. And, I mean, that's the beauty of what those people do. The fact that he can go out there and give it his all with everybody just raining down boos at him.
Yeah, that must be a very special, unique kind of energy to have a bunch of people hating on you.
Yeah.
Although the audience looks pretty demure out there.
Yeah, it's what that also. This is what's considered a rest hold. They call them, even though it looks like a submission of some sort. He's got like they might call it a headlock or something, but they do holds like that in the middle of the match so they can take a breath. Yeah. Boom, Macho Man for the comeback. Oh.
But then it's that rowdy other guy, Elvis.
Jimmy Hart, yes. The Colonel, Jimmy Hart.
The Colonel, Jimmy Hart.
Yeah, his other nickname is the Mouth of the South.
The Mouth of the South.
Yeah, it wasn't until they brought in Jeff Jarrett in the 90s that they started going the Porter Wagner country music character. Seriously, I mean, Jeff Jarrett had like the big cowboy hat with neon on the hat and neon on the back.
Oh, nice.
And he had a country song that the WWE tried to release.
But they were unable to, or it just didn't do well?
No, it didn't do well. They released it, but the song was garbage. Well, the referee, Joey Morella. Joey Morella is actually the son of former WWE announcer and president Gorilla Monsoon, but he tragically, thanks to the WWE road schedule, died in a car accident because he was driving and fell asleep at the wheel.
That's sad.
Yeah, I mean, those people in wrestling, they have to wrestle in a ring like this and think about how you're physically, you have to exert yourself to do what they do, and then get in a car and drive 12 hours to the next town.
Right. Yeah, it's not glamorous at all. Like, none of the guys, even the really famous ones that have been on Dark Side of the Ring, like, they really describe that life as not very appealing.
Yeah, and what McMahon was doing to the wrestlers at this time. I mean, the wrestlers easily could have formed a union, and McMahon would have had no choice but to accept that if they had done that, and their circumstances would have been better because, he had to buy the balls here, unfortunately, because if they got sick, they may have something what is called like a downside guarantee, a minimum amount of money that they could be paid, but they're not getting much else, and they get the bulk of their money from being out in the ring. So essentially, it encouraged people to lie about injuries they may have.
Right. So they're striving to get to the top ring, in the ring as often as possible.
Now, what were you doing in 1988?
Well, so I was just thinking just a moment ago about Elizabeth's hair here. We're getting a real good show of Elizabeth's hair. And that's what I was doing in 1988. I was doing my hair, and I was doing it big, and I was doing it loud and proud. And it looked very similar to Elizabeth's hair. And if I could have afforded it, that is the dress that I would have worn to the Y-Teens dance that year. Yeah, she's just to a T every high school girl's fantasy of what they would want to be.
Damsel in distress. Yeah. How old were you?
14.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was 11 at this point. I mean, it was the year I turned 12, but I was 11.
Yeah.
Oh, saw some out of the ring.
In the context of 11 versus 14, I was a much older woman.
Voluptuous, you're saying? The cups spilleth over.
You definitely wouldn't have been able to talk to me.
Yeah, humming. Hey, lady. All right, body slam for the Macho Man going out to the top rope. What's going to happen here? What grade were you in 1988? February 88.
So that was the 87-88 school year, and I graduated in 1992. So I was in 8th grade.
Middle school.
Mm-hmm. The top of the middle school. Because my middle school was 6th through 8th grade. So you made it through the 2 worst years of middle school, and now you had arrived you had a chance at surviving middle school. I think middle school was the worst experience of my life, even now looking back.
Why do you say that?
Just puberty, pretty much, which makes me kind of scared of menopause. Because that's its foil. Because I just remember being so awkward and miserable and awkward at that age.
Oh, look at that. It was the countout victory. The Macho Man Randy Savage wins, but on a countout, and the titles do not change hands on a countout.
So he kept the title.
Yes, but he's coming into the ring. He's going to hit the Macho Man with a guitar. What's going to happen here? Uh-oh. Yeah, when it comes to middle school was just a couple years later for me, but kind of the same boat, because also the bad part of that was the elementary school I went to for most of my elementary school experience was that private Christian school I told you about, but it was still a school for kind of lower end kids. The tuition was like much lower and much more attainable, and they had scholarships and whatnot. Not so much the situation in junior high. In junior high, my mother worked as a bartender, and I had friends whose parents were like doctors, nurses, lawyers, stuff like that. And me, I'm coming in with, like I said, the the Sylvester Stallone and Rhinestone cosplay outfit.
Right. But you still had friends whose parents were doctors and lawyers and nurses.
That time, no, but I did have a social group. That was one of the few times to where, like, the people that I hung out with had so few people to hang out that we just hung out with each other, even though none of us really liked each other.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, yeah, what a wonderful time. But Macho Man just grabbed the guitar from the Honky Tonk Man, smashed the guitar up, and Joey Morello is raising his hand in victory. Oh, yeah. And this is, how they can... Oh, he's telling her not to come in the ring. What's going to happen? Oh, no. Oh, look at that. He's a gentleman now.
Oh. And she's crying.
Yeah, she cries easy. Cried easy. Unfortunately, she did pass away.
She's crying because he moved the rope for her to come into the...
He's finally being nice to her. So, yeah. There was that match. Then, on the shoulder. Did you want a fella to do that for you?
Of course I did. What are you talking about? Just pick you up and put you on his shoulder.
Had the time of my life.
I never felt like this before.
Yeah, and even though she appears shy, apparently she also did work in the 90s as like a sideline reporter for like water skiing events on ESPN.
Oh wow, that sounds like a great job for her.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of the wrestlers, found homes in Florida. And I guess it was cheaper, so
Must have been favorable taxes and stuff too.
Yeah, especially for that. But here we go. It's the start of the match here. They just came back from commercial, and what they're now doing is talking about a controversial moment in WrestleMania 3, which happened at the Pontiac Silverdome in Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what happened, they're going to show the videotape here at the beginning of the match. But what happened is you'll see is that Hogan tried to go for a body slam on Andre in that match very early on and didn't quite go through with it. And it looked like the referee counted 3, even though the referee counted 2. So here we go. Punch to the end, picks, ooh, you're not doing that, buddy. Boom. And look at the ref's hand. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And I think more than anything, he fucked up, and and they ultimately used that to set up this match. But it also wouldn't shock me if that was very much intentional to set up the match that we're going to watch right here. Yeah, and I think. Yeah, I forgot what that was, but like the next clip that they're going to have of Hogan and Andre doing the contract signing happened at the very first Royal Rumble, which was not on pay-per-view, but live on the USA Network.
Wow, so this would have been the first pay-per-view Royal Rumble then.
On television, yes, because they did have a couple of Royal Rumbles before on house shows to test out the idea, but here we go. And look at those boots and those spandex that Hogan is wearing.
Yeah, that spandex is gay amazing. And look at those nipples.
I'm going to lunge for the other guy, brother. Oh! Yes, Andre just put his own personal stamp of approval on the championship contract. But this was a big deal because, again, like I said, at this particular time, wrestling on television was what they called squash matches. You had a big name facing off against a nobody. And, the main way they got you was through the interviews to try and get you to either watch on pay-per-view during this era or go to the arenas to watch the show in person. So to be able to see a match of this caliber on television at this particular time was a very big deal.
Yeah, it seems like wrestling is one of those kind of unique in the entertainment industry in its ability or just in how it used pay-per-view and continued to use pay-per-view much longer than sports were using pay-per-view. Do you know why that is?
Well, with pay-per-view, it's if you think about it, it's one of the perfect type of events for that, because with regular sports, with regular boxing, if it's not fixed, with MMA, the quality of the matches aren't always guaranteed, whereas with wrestling, because the results are predetermined and they are putting on a story, barring injury in the ring, or an audience just not getting it, they can control the emotions of the audience.
Right. So, like a boxing match, it might start and like be a KO in the first second of the match, and then people have paid $50 to watch the boxing match.
It's like on UFC. When UFC first got on Fox, their very first event, they hyped up one match. It was going to be a championship match. It was going to go the full 5 rounds. It was going to be a bloodbath. They only advertised the one match, and it was done in 30 seconds, and they wasted an hour talking about a 30-second match.
Wow.
Yeah, so this shot I liked. Andre coming out, he didn't...
The classic unitard.
Yes, and the shot this right here, imagine seeing that like on a classic television at home, and you hate this guy and he's frightening, but you see this and is huge.
Yeah, he's huge.
Like, even when I saw him in 1989, I loathed him just because of this match right here. But I was, like, also in the cheap seats, yet I didn't utter a word. I just sat there and glowered at him.
Because you were scared of him.
I was scared. I didn't want him to hear me, and just me specifically, and have him run through the crowd and beat me up, because that was a perfectly logical thing to think when you're 13.
Right.
And, of course, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, the character that if Vince McMahon became a wrestler, he would have been that character.
But Vince McMahon did become a wrestler.
It wasn't supposed to be in the cards. He did, but, at this particular time, he was always just going to be the announcer.
Gotcha.
But, well, controversy, dude, brother. And also, this is a nice little thing that I didn't catch until years later. That belt right there, he does not go out to the ring with that belt. When he goes out to the ring, he's going to have a new championship belt that debuted that was called the Winged Eagle belt. And that was the debut of that particular belt. And this is the last time we saw that belt on television. Oh,
wow.
Yeah, belts. When you got a good championship belt, you tend to remember those, because you've had some bad ones, like the WWE when John Cena was big as a wrestler, had a spinner belt.
Where it had a spinner in the middle?
The spinner in the middle was the WWE logo, and it looked like shit, but they kept it for over a decade because all the kids wanted to buy them. Really?
Because they had spinners in them.
Yep. Oh, and there's Virgil, the $1 Million Man's bodyguard. That's a pun, believe it or not, because the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, his real name, Virgil Runnels.
Really?
Yep. And Hulk Hogan coming to the ring. I think this is the first time I ever saw a Hogan match like live. On occasion on like primetime wrestling on Mondays during the summer, you would see like a replay of like an old match that he did. But yeah, for a championship match, you rarely got to see this. So being able to see this live was a big thing. And the referee, I love the commentary on this as well, because it plays right into it, because they keep on commenting throughout the match about the officiating of the referee, and they do it in such a way so that when the ultimate the reveal at the end occurs, you are legitimately shocked.
Because he's been so officious through the whole thing.
Because the announcers are a part of the storytelling process. They're getting us as the audience used to. They're like, he's doing such a great job, and we're like, yes, we agree. So by the time he does screw up, he's like, what?
Oh, I see.
So it plays on your emotions there. But yes.
So do you see through all this stuff when it's happening?
What do you mean?
Like, you just explained that the announcers would get the crowd into their story by saying, what a great referee, what a great referee. And do you figure that kind of thing out about the show while the show is happening, or is that something that you have to look back on in hindsight? Like, are you enjoying the show when it's happening really for the moment to moment what you're watching, or are you analyzing it that way?
Well, like at the time when I watched it, I was 11 at this point, so I was just simply watching it because I was a fan of Hulk Hogan, and Andre the Giant made me mad, But the older I got, and the more essentially I learned how the magic is done, because what they do is no different, in my opinion, than what David Copperfield does. So once I found a little bit about how the magic is done, it made me admire what they do, because everybody has roles to play to control the emotions of the audience here. And if everybody's firing on all cylinders, you can get some crowds going nuts, and that's a great feeling.
Yeah, I'd like to get a crowd go nuts. That'd feel good.
Mm-hmm. I'm doing what? Anyway. Oh, I love this shot too, just how it goes slowly up like that. But, and you will notice too throughout the match, you'll see right now, like Andre holding on to the side of the rope at this particular time. He shouldn't have come back at WrestleMania 3. I mean, we know this now thanks to all the documentaries and all that stuff. But just keep an eye on him throughout the match, because most of the time he's going to be on the side of the rope. And then what you'll see too is that by the times to where you think he might be getting tired is when they're going to start bringing in DiBiase and Virgil.
I see.
So it's kind of everybody working together to kind of distract you from the fact that Andre is not at 100% and, would never be again.
Yeah, it's really sad.
On the one hand, it is sad. On the other hand, it's like, the reason he did this was to be able to have some money to leave for his daughter.
Right.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate that, he had to put himself through the amount of pain that he did. And sadly, too, I think it's unfortunate that, he didn't live in an era to where people could really show him appreciation for what he did. Because when he passed away in the early 90s, the word had gotten out at that point that, wrestling was predetermined, but the wrestlers themselves still kind of kept to the whole idea of what they call kayfabe, the idea of, I am this character 24/7. And, as the documentaries that, we've both seen on Andre, have shown, during the time when he was a bad guy here and getting booed, it affected his mental health.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure.
The good thing is that a couple years down the road at WrestleMania 6, he did finally, come to his senses. And Bobby Heenan got upset at him during a tag team match and slapped him. And then Andre slapped Bobby and, became a good guy at that point again. But, so I guess there is that. But still, just the man was huge.
So big, such a large person.
Yeah, I didn't get to see Hogan until 2000, and that was for a WCW Monday Nitro episode.
Did it make you feel energized? Because that's what Nitro is supposed to do.
Oh, God, no. That was the worst era of not only that show's history, but the worst era of booking in professional wrestling history.
That sounds pretty bad.
It was one of the things that helped keep professional wrestling down in the United States for over 20 years. I mean, it's, thankfully AEW is around now to kind of get interest back up in it again. But just the booking during that was so bad. Like when I saw him, they were having Hogan face off against this guy named Billy Kidman, who is like half your size and height and just really skinny, or maybe like your size, but
so
just
sort of like the stout or scat.
It's like a cruiserweight, just like a really skinny guy who against Hulk Hogan, which nobody believed. Nobody could believe that they did not. It's like, it's rare to be able to pull off a David and Goliath type of story, and just, with that Billy Kidman guy, they weren't going to do it, and Hogan wasn't going to do it. But having said that, seeing Hogan was just like, I remember you from when I was a kid. That type of thing. Hogan at the top rope and gets his nuts crushed in a vase.
Seriously, gets his nuts crushed.
Brother!
He got his nuts crushed. Oh my God, my nuts! Ah!
You're like, and I don't have any. Brother, my back, brother, oh my God. What am I gonna do? Oh, And remember, it was after this, folks, that he went on to film his role in No Holds Barred.
No holds barred.
And instead of the shaka bra in that, his character had like his hand doing like that.
The trigger finger.
Yes.
The audience looks like they are not excited about this match at all.
They are, because even today, most audiences aren't going to be like, up out of their seats through the entirety of the show. A lot of times they're going to be up for the big moments and screaming. But in terms of volume, if we had the volume at normal volume, I think you would hear that the audience is pretty much in it. They're just not up and going. But when we do get to the end of the match, you'll see the audience really kind of react from there in confusion and anger too.
Cool.
But yeah, I'm sitting there watching this, and it's like, I don't want Andre to win. I'm like, please win, Hogan, win. And I'm just sitting on my mother's bed at this point, just like, I'm engrossed by what I'm seeing. No wonder I didn't date into my 20s.
No wonder.
Yes. But are we going to get Hogan coming back for a Hulk up, brother? Yeah, those hits from Andre, those had to hurt.
Mm-hmm. Headbutt.
But what else were you doing in 1988?
So I was going to school in high school. I was playing in the band. I played the tuba in the band. And I was taking Latin and your regular subjects, math and English and all that sort of thing. And, what did we get up to when we were freshmen? You'd go to school, that took up most of the day. Then you've got to somehow get home from school, so that you had to figure that out. And then, get something to eat, and then pretty much the day's over, watch a little TV, go to bed.
What did you end up watching?
I watched a lot of things typical, like The Cosby Show, It's a Different World. What are some other shows from back then?
Oh my goodness! Like The Golden Girls was on during that time.
I didn't watch that.
Murphy Brown, I think, was just getting started.
I didn't watch that.
Then you got your TGI of like Perfect Strangers.
I loved Perfect Strangers, actually.
Do you know the spin-off of Perfect Strangers?
No.
Family Matters.
Really?
Yes. Urkel's love interest, Laura.
Uh-huh.
The mother worked as an elevator attendant at the newspaper building that Larry worked at.
Really?
Yeah, the show was supposed to be about her and her family life, but it became the Urkel show.
Yeah, it really became the Urkel show.
So she ended up hating it. Now here we go. This is almost near the end of the match. Hogan is just coming back. He's coming back. Slap, chest slap, and he's doing a unique thing with the punching. Like most people kind of do what he does, you'll notice that he puts like his left hand on Andre's head first, and ultimately he's hitting his own hand.
Right.
And even then, I think he's not doing like a full fist, but he's kind of cupping it, like kind of having it like a backward straight. Now here we go. Virgil grabs the leg. He's kicking at him. The referee is distracted right here. And this is the part, leg drop, covers him for the pin. 1, 2, 3. Where's the referee? What's the referee doing? Oh my God, what's he doing? I can't believe this. Can you believe this? The referee just is not. Come on, brother. I had it, brother. I should have won, brother. There we go.
No, not my ears.
1 headbutt. A second headbutt. And what they call a suplex, but it's more just falling with style.
Kaplow.
And here it is. Here it is. 1, shoulders up. 2, 3. And this is where I'm running out of the room weeping. I'm wailing, weeping.
So sad.
Yes. Yeah, and I'm able to come back to the television a couple minutes later, but at this point, like, you can even see in the audience, people are like, what is going on here? And got people shaking their head. And then it's funny, Gene Okerlund is going to approach Andre here momentarily. And Andre's going to have the flub of the century by saying, I told you I was going to win the World Tag Team Championship. Oh, yes, and this right here, no instant replays. They threw that line in as an excuse to have a video, a little video thing that they did with George Steinbrenner like a month later.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But yes, Andre with the championship.
And so I want to get a good look at the belt, since you said it's a different one now.
Yeah, you should see her momentarily on Andre's shoulder. Yes.
It is different.
In a much better design. The other one looked like a nice 1970s title. This one looks like a modern title,
Right. 90s title.
Yeah. And here we go. Yeah, this is no surprise. I told you I'm going to win the World Tag Team Championship. And now I surrender the World Tag Team Championship to Ted DiBiase. And this is the big thing. He surrendered the title.
How can you do that? You just give the title to whoever you want?
Ultimately, they determined that they could. But ultimately, because of the Honky Tonk Man, Macho Man's angle, they determined that that they had to vacate the title because of this. Originally, Ted DiBiase was going to go into WrestleMania 4 as the champion.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, but this is brilliant too, because like the camera does a great job of not showing you what you're about to see here momentarily. It just turned in the background. There it is.
Oh, the refs are.
Yes. Like, I'm back in the room at this point, and I'm seeing this, and it blows my mind.
The twin refs.
Is that Dave Hebner, or is that Dave Hebner? And the twin referee, the one that they brought in, was named Earl Hebner, and he was the one that a few years later in '97 was the referee for the Montreal Screwjob. Do you remember that episode in Dark Side of the Ring?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's funny, the guy on the left is Dave Hebner, the one on the right is Earl.
Two Dave
But they're
Hebners.
arguing. It's just today, Hogan would probably get yelled at because he's not, he has his back to the camera. Face the hard camera, man. It's like, Hogan, oh my goodness, what am I gonna do? And then this is great right here. They're arguing what's gonna happen. Hogan turns just in time to see.
They're shoving each other.
Yeah, Dave Hebner had worked with the WWF for a while. Earl Hebner actually worked with Jim Crockett Promotions, the company that ended up becoming WCW.
Oh,
and
wow.
They didn't realize at first that they were twin brothers until, Hogan for this match said, what if we had a twin referee? But look at this too. Earl Hebner ends up with a pretty bad injury, and you're going to see why here in a minute. It's like, please don't do it. Please don't do it. Oh, you cheated me, brother. You cheated me. Even though I'm a good guy, it's okay to
beat up on the ref.
Cause watch. Yeah, this is a Hail Mary.
Oh my god.
I think he broke his wrist.
Oh my god.
And so Hogan is upset, but as they say, Hogan must pose.
Yes, Hogan must pose.
Yeah, and then it went to commercial, and I'm just shattered at this age. And my mother and sister are like watching this on the television in the living room at that point, wondering what the hell is going on. And then this shows how much of a rookie they were at this point, because if they did this show now, the last thing we would have saw is Hogan being upset, and you would not have seen any of this. They didn't time it correctly. So they have a whole tag team match that at the time they ultimately didn't show the ending of because they just didn't time it correctly. But this is Strikeforce, Tito Santana and Rick Martel facing off against the Hart Foundation.
Cool. They've got lightning on their butts.
Because they're Strikeforce. Oh, back to, because yeah, it's like, why have a tag team match if you're just gonna cut to an interview where Hogan's weeping?
I can't believe I lost it.
How much for the plastic surgery, brother? That's what he's gonna say. But this was the 80s for professional wrestling here. So, I mean, you could easily tell now watching this show and then watching professional wrestling today, you can see where, you know, the how this ends up being like the birth of what we, you know, take for granted now, if you are a wrestling fan.
Cool. So this is like historically significant.
Yes.
To the genre.
Very much so, yeah. But yeah, while we record this, folks, we do have a little announcement here that we'll talk about. We are dealing with another sick cat in the house, unfortunately, and we're doing our best to make sure we can help him fight through whatever he's going through.
Yeah, little Sherm, he's not doing great. He just walked out here and laid down, so.
Yeah, so having said that, he likes our voice. Pile driver, a move you will rarely see today, thank goodness.
Yeah, that looked pretty neck injuring.
Yeah. And then, yeah, like I said, like the match at this, the show went to black at this point. We're only seeing this here because obviously, you know, they own the footage and can put this extra bit on there now, but they mistimed it. But overall, that was one of the first big, huge, consequential wrestling event that I ever saw that really touched my emotional heartstrings. That was the main event.
Cool.
So, any thoughts?
Thanks for showing it to me.
You're like, we won't do that again with wrestling.
You know, back at that time, I would have thought that was like the cheesiest, most ridiculous thing to be interested in. And
now you think it's the most ridiculous and cheesy thing to be interested in.
Now I can see how it's like cooler, like the stories of the performers are interesting to me, and the industry itself is like weird. Like I don't get into it for the entertainment of the performance itself. It's more almost like the absurdity of the performance itself.
Yeah, because, I mean, I do agree. Yeah, professional wrestling is not subtle in any way, shape, or form. It can't be. I mean, it's, by the nature of it, it needs to play on your emotions. But it's, I don't know, for me, that's what I like about it. That, you know, when it's done well, it can, you know, make you feel happy. It can make you feel sad. It can make you feel angry, you know, and that takes art to be able to purposefully manipulate those types of emotions out of an audience. I mean, that's you know, for me, it's performance art.
Yeah, I definitely get that. I just have never been emotionally like attached.
And that's cool. That's cool. I mean, all I ever hope from anybody.
Not the way I was with Barbie. Like, you could tell me a story about Barbie and something bad happened to Barbie and I'd be crying because I really emotionally connected with Barbie as an 11-year-old.
Speaking of Barbie, and I know we briefly talked about this, but I am actually fascinated by the fact that Greta Gerwig wants to direct a Barbie movie with Margot Robbie.
Yeah, really cool, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, for folks that don't know, Greta Gerwig was responsible for the movies Ladybug and Little Women. Topics that don't necessarily share the same space with Barbie.
Right.
So which says to me that she has an idea to potentially explore some stuff, and from what I've seen, I can't wait. So. But I think we'll wrap things up here. I had a good time here talking. I hope you did as well.
I did. It was fun to watch with you. Thanks for watching with me.
And thank you all for listening. Remember to tune in on Wednesdays and Saturdays in this podcast space for new content. Follow us on social media. You can find us at FTNerdy, at Tim Jousma. Did you want to give your social media handles? No? Okay. You'll find us online somewhere. I don't know.
I don't even know what they are.
The Genghis Ferry.
Oh, Genghis Ferry on Twitter.
Yes.
Yes.
So there's that. But anyway, thank you all for tuning in, and we bid you all adieu.
Subscribe to Friends Talking Nerdy on iTunes, the Google Play Music Store, as well as Spotify. Remember to support Friends Talking Nerdy on Patreon. Goodbye, darling.